Gordon Ramsay almost lost his life back in 2008 while he was filming this episode of The F Word.
Welcome to The F Word, and in case you're wondering what the F stands for, it's food, of course.
He has gambled with his life quite a few times.
Tell them all now, if you recognize a blue t-shirt, don't fucking shoot.
I have lots of new stuff to share in this video, so make sure to sit tight till the very end. Now, before I get into the details, here's something interesting. Chef Ramsay is all set to open his new restaurant in London in February 2025, taking over the top floors of 22 Bishopgates. It will be Europe's tallest restaurant with a view. So yes, Ramsay's most audacious project yet. He revealed about it when he recently appeared on the cover of Men's Health UK, and damn does he look good for a 60-year-old. In the interview, he revealed more details about his recent deadly bike accident. According to what the magazine reported, he was galloping down a hill on his bike when his front wheel hit a crater-like pothole. The bike spun 180 degrees and he was catapulted through the air. With hindsight, Chef Ramsay can say what he did next was stupid. He tried to put the chain back on and continue riding, but when he came to fix his helmet back into place, he realized it had split completely. Looking back, it was probably the reason he was still alive, or at the very least, why he was still conscious. In that moment, his vision blurred and there was blood everywhere. "I honestly thought I was going to pass out," he says. Chef Ramsay managed to contact his assistant, Justin Mandel, who got him an ambulance to hospital. CT scans followed. Thankfully, nothing was broken. Since the accident, Chef Ramsay has been enduring daily lymphatic drainage massages and physio to reduce the significant swelling. At the beginning, he says, "I couldn't even put my fucking socks and pants on. Justin, he used to dress me in the morning. I felt like a fucking 95-year-old man. Asking a 30-year-old kid to put my fucking underpants on was embarrassing." He's now well on the road to recovery. He's even returned to training too, swimming and cycling. His accident has slightly curtailed his training for now, but in normal times, Chef Ramsay begins every day of his working week with a workout. He's usually woken up by his youngest sons, Jesse James and Oscar James, 5 at about 5:30 a.m. After that, he does a quick run, stretch, and a little bit of core work before heading off to work, which right now is taking him in and out of London's Savoy Hotel for tastings all day long. By 9:30 p.m., he's usually back home having a quick bite to eat before heading off to bed. Although sometimes the pull of the watt bike is so strong that he adds in another session. Weekends give him the time he needs to really push himself, usually with a 90-minute or 2-hour session, he says. The man is unstoppable. Nothing discourages him, not even a near-death experience. Which brings me to The F Word is a show where aspiring chefs whip up dishes for a group of 50 diners who then get the final say on how well or badly the meal turned out. Let me get straight to it. For this particular lethal episode, Chef Ramsay was in Iceland, checking out how puffin could be used in cooking.
I'm just worried about standing up on the side of this.
So, naturally, he found himself on a puffin catching adventure, with a guide leading the way along a steep rocky cliff that overlooked some seriously cold waters.
Yes! Okay!
The whole process of catching puffins involved waving a massive net around in the air, trying to snag one of these birds mid-flight, a task that sounds difficult enough without being precariously perched on the edge of a cliff. As luck would have it, Chef Ramsay lost his footing and took an unplanned dive straight into the icy waters below. Safe to say, this wasn't the kind of splash he intended to make. As soon as Chef Ramsay hit the freezing water, his outdoor winter gear turned into a heavy anchor, dragging him down. After being underwater for what felt like an eternity, about 45 seconds, he managed to kick off his boots and swim up to the surface. Luckily, his filming crew had a rope ready and pulled him back in. "I thought I was a goner," Chef Ramsay said. "They say cats have 9 lives. I've had 12 already, and I don't know how many more I'll have. It wasn't until I was on the plane home I realized what a close call I'd had. It was definitely a close shave, and when Chef Ramsay got back home, he was scared about breaking the news to his wife, Tana. I chickened out, but she knew something was up," he said, adding that Tana was distraught. While Chef Ramsay was struggling underwater, his mind instantly jumped to his 4 kids, and the thought of not being there for them hit him hard. The fear of leaving them behind probably gave him that extra push to keep fighting. Thankfully, for him, his family, and everyone who loves watching him tear into a bad risotto, he made it out in one piece. Chef Ramsay sure has an adventurous spirit. His curiosity has led him to places I wouldn't dare go with a gun.
I have never been to such remote areas of any part of the world like this.
And he has been under the gun many times. Literally. Chef Ramsay was in Costa Rica filming The Big Fish Fight, where British chefs took a stand for sustainable fishing practices. In one episode, Chef Ramsay set out to highlight the ugly side of shark finning, a gruesome act where sharks are poached just for their fins. often ending up in soups that some consider a delicacy. According to the Animal Welfare Institute, the demand for these fins leads to the deaths of around 73 million sharks a year. Pretty horrifying, right? But the real danger wasn't just to the sharks. Chef Ramsay found himself in hot water when he came face to face with some Costa Rican gangsters, armed and clearly not happy about him poking around in their illegal fin trade. While filming, Chef Ramsay found himself stumbling onto illegal fishing boats, only to discover a stash of shark fins hidden on the rooftop. According to Delish, when he confronted the fishermen, things escalated fast. Guns were drawn on him and the TV crew, because of course nothing says friendly chat like a few firearms. Chef Ramsay later recalled the terrifying moment when, after confronting the situation, someone dumped a barrel of petrol over him. As if that wasn't enough, cars with blacked out windows suddenly appeared, trying to trap them. In true action movie fashion, Chef Ramsay and his team dove into their car and sped off. After that harrowing encounter, the local police strongly advised Chef Ramsay to leave Costa Rica immediately. The authorities made it clear how serious the situation was, warning him that stepping foot near those fishing boats again would likely end in gunfire. Chef Ramsay's had his fair share of wild moments, but this one? It's outrageous. Speaking of, in his great escape to India, after enjoying what he calls his favorite curry in the northern part of India, Chef Ramsay decided to head off on an adventure to the northeast.
Gonna see Griton.
Everybody say, "Thank you, Mr. Gertano Ramsay." Haha, anyway. This time, he was aiming to meet the tribes of Nagaland, hoping to pick up some unique recipes, like chicken with papaya and a special fish curry from Assam. The tribal way of life is still very much alive in this part of the country, where people literally hunt for their food. Chef Ramsay traveled around 1,200 kilometers from Kolkata to finally reach the Nagaland border. Not exactly a quick trip, but he made it. This area, though, isn't exactly known for being the safest destination for Westerners to wander solo. Definitely not your average holiday spot.
It's okay, you'll come out alive, don't worry.
I'll come out alive, yeah. I'm still shitting myself.
Gordon's first stop on this wild culinary adventure was Shiong village in Nagaland, tucked away in Mon district. When he arrived, he stayed with the Konyak tribe, a group that doesn't get many Western visitors, let alone a celebrity chef like Chef Ramsay.
Why are all these people here?
These are our relatives and villagers.
In fact, he was the first Western chef to ever set foot in the village, so they made sure his welcome was something special. They greeted him with smoked boar and some blood pudding, cooked in bamboo.
It's delicious. That is very good.
The next morning, Gordon got a proper invite from the community to join them for a hunt. And of course, he was very excited.
I would love to go hunting.
He is inviting you.
I thought it was banned. No.
He was curious to explore, but also a bit scared, which was evident from his face.
50, 60 years ago, there was tribal gangs.
The next morning when they set off for the hunt, Chef Ramsay hurt his foot with a machete.
It sort of bounced back, and I think it was the corner
Yes.
that went in.
But he didn't stop or rest. Along with the villagers, they tracked down a deer, which they promptly offered as a gift to the chief. Let's just say Chef Ramsay's usual kitchen knives wouldn't have cut it here. This episode was a blast. Gordon went fishing with a guy, went to his house, called his wife sexy, stole her scarf and her recipe, and damn near won a local cooking competition. If you want me to cover it, let your thoughts out in the comments below. But for now, if you aren't familiar with the F word, let me do the honors of walking you through some of the most entertaining inaugural episodes. Sit tight and enjoy! It was the 4th episode of the first season. Team Slaw and Order faced off against the food bosses in a high-stakes competition.
In the kitchen!
They're not ready for the bosses.
You want some of this?
They were tasked with preparing New York strip steak with mushrooms and smoky barbecue sauce.
Now, 2 teams of amateur cooks are hard at work in my kitchen right now, live.
What was the question?
Tonight, would you pay for dinner? The team with the most is...
So, are you caught up? Both teams had to serve 50 dishes, and the team with the most diner votes would win the night and secure a spot in the finale for a chance at $100,000. Later, Chef Ramsay planned to cook alongside Andy Cohen, dive deep in the Florida Keys to hunt a predator threatening the ecosystem,
a nightmare. You're a nightmare.
and then spend Father's Day with his daughter Tilly as they aim to set a new Guinness World Record. Exciting stuff, right? Alright, here is our first team.
I really wasn't.
He's doing a wet rub, I'm doing a rub.
They consisted of Stan, Mark, Justin, and Heather.
To the winning line tonight?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Young lady.
Stan led as the team captain and handled the plating, while Mark took charge of the grill. Heather, their versatile team member, tackled various tasks, and Justin focused on the mushrooms and potatoes. Whitney Webster, their sous chef, advised them to divide the tasks and conquer. Their opponents, the food bosses, comprised 4 family members.
I need some eggs. I need somebody grating cheese. My dear.
Brian, a single father, was joined by his daughter Audrey, his other daughter Madison, Maddie,
We use them with like our own family seasoning.
and his wife Darcy, who was the nurturing mother the girls had always needed. Chef Ramsay questioned whether this close-knit family had the toughness to handle the pressures of the F-word kitchen.
19 and 20. I mean, we've never had such young talent in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Brian took charge of plating, Maddie handled the mushrooms, Audrey worked on the potatoes, and Darcy manned the grill. Brian, eager to let Darcy lead as the team captain, instructed everyone to divide their tasks and conquer. Slaw and Order had served 22 dishes. Chef Ramsay visited their kitchen, criticized Mark for not heating his pan sufficiently, and for using a dirty pan.
Look, take them out first. Yeah? Because all you're going to do is scorch them, so you need...
He then gave Mark a lesson on cooking steak properly and rendering fat.
Start off a fresh one. Yeah, that was my problem. Yeah? Okay, we'll just change them out.
Gordon Ramsay then met with Andy Cohen and explained that they would be cooking side by side. However, a wall would separate them. While Chef Ramsay would guide him through every step, Andy needed to follow his voice and directions carefully. Andy voiced his concern about Chef Ramsay's tendency to scream and talk quickly. They were set to cook chicken breast, mushrooms, potatoes, and roasted carrots.
Sauteed mushrooms, amazing potatoes, and finished with roasted carrots.
Andy admitted he wasn't a fan of carrots. Andy revealed that he doesn't cook at all and only uses his toaster oven to reheat food.
I feel like I'm about to operate on someone. Chicken breast, season, salt, pepper, pan on, get it nice and hot.
As Gordon continued cooking, Andy seemed clueless about what to do. He asked Chef Ramsay if he thought he was dumb, to which Gordon shouted back that it wasn't about being dumb, he simply didn't cook enough.
And lay it away from you, okay? Take a nice sprig of rosemary.
Andy pierced the chicken with a fork, prompting Gordon to exclaim that he'd let all the goodness escape.
And saute the mushrooms. Okay. Now try and put them flesh side down.
Andy joked about making sauce with Gordon Ramsay, and when Gordon told him to add some cream, Andy hesitated, thinking it might be a mistake. Gordon scoffed.
The material shoot has reduced down. It's like caramely.
As they plated their dishes, they teased each other, calling themselves a nightmare. Gordon detected a burnt smell and saw that Andy's saucepan was charred. Gordon laughed at Andy's plate and teased that while his dish was okay, the chicken was a letdown. Andy was thrilled to try Gordon's dish, calling it delicious. Chef Ramsay reassured Andy that there was still hope for him, encouraging him to keep cooking. Chef Ramsay then visited the food boss's kitchen, where they had served 18 dishes. He noted that everyone was enjoying their food, but expressed concern about Audrey burning herself. Chef Ramsay demonstrated the proper way to cook the mushrooms.
When you split the mushrooms in 2 pans, they're going to cook quicker. So look, from there.
And reminded them to treat the pans as if they were extremely hot. He advised Mark to avoid sweating into the steaks and showed him how to properly render the fat and cook the steaks.
Keep it going. Here.
Okay,
Keep it going. Pipe in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gordon Ramsay gathered the teams and announced that Slaw and Order had served 30 dishes, but only 20 diners were willing to pay. The main complaint was uneven cooking. He instructed Mark to slow down and adjust his approach, emphasizing the importance of maintaining high standards.
20 of your diners are happy to pay for it.
Team Food Bosses had served 26 diners, with 22 willing to pay. The only issue was that the mushrooms were a bit oily. Gordon Ramsay advised them to ensure the pan was piping hot before adding the mushrooms, and urged them to elevate their performance. Gordon Ramsay then traveled to the Florida Keys to meet Eric and Grace, a husband and wife team dedicated to hunting the invasive lionfish. Originally from the Indian Ocean, this predator was irresponsibly released into the ocean by an aquarium owner. Together, they would catch some lionfish, and Gordon would teach them how to prepare a delicious meal with it. Eric explained the pain caused by the fish's venom.
You can see these dorsal spikes. It's almost like a hypodermic needle.
Why was Chef Ramsay off to so many side quests? Don't now, man. The show's format is chaotic. Despite having dived for 20 years, Gordon had never encountered a mission quite like this one. They descended 80 feet to the ocean floor to start their hunt. Gordon, upon seeing the lionfish, commented on its unappealing appearance.
Look at the size of that one!
Oh my god!
Back on land, he demonstrated how to make Caribbean fish curry on the grill. Eric noted that the bar was set high for their next attempt at grilling the fish.
Sort of a light freight curry. Minutes later, lunch is served.
Back in the kitchen, Joel McHale welcomed Gordon.
A chef's point of view is that something being so poisonous that it decimates the horrid.
This was hilarious. Gordon asked why he was grilling food when he was supposed to be at Joel's restaurant. Joel replied that Gordon needed to witness firsthand how much worse people's cooking could be compared to his.
Good to see you.
Jamie Oliver, ladies and gentlemen.
Come on, guys.
He added with a grin that he was about to serve up some questionable food that might poison a lot of people. Joel McHale joked about grilling chicken, only to reveal it was actually soft-shell crab. And in another barbecue, sliced beef tips. He handed Gordon a whole steak to try, saying he loved the meat. As Gordon took a bite, he began coughing and asked for a drink, eventually spitting out the meat.
It's good. Listen.
Do you like it?
I love it. Seriously.
Here, take a bite.
Joel then humorously recounted his string of failed TV shows over the years and picked up a large hunting knife while discussing his cooking habits. He claimed that if he was home, he was the one cooking, and how his kids tease him.
Well, I cannot go on stage having alcohol because I will fall asleep.
Despite their efforts, no diners were interested in trying his food. Slaw and Order served 34 dishes, while Food Bosses managed 36. However, when Gordon asked some diners for their opinions, one complained about the F being on the wrong side, ruining the presentation, and said he wouldn't pay. Gordon's response was to tell him to be quiet.
I like the mushrooms. The steak was... Any more salt, the sauce didn't taste nothing like barbecue.
The diner also noted that the sauce under the steak tasted more like tomato paste or ketchup rather than barbecue. Chef Ramsay then visited the Food Boss's kitchen and shared that feedback indicated they needed to be more careful with seasoning on the mushrooms and potatoes. Despite this, he reassured them that their system was solid and they were doing well, encouraging them to keep up the good work. In the Slaw and Order kitchen, Gordon pointed out that complaints about the unevenly cooked steak were still coming in. He advised them to cook the steaks for less time and let them rest longer. Gordon emphasized that they needed to turn things around. After leaving the kitchen, he met Leslie Jones from Saturday Night Live on the balcony. He joked about being tipsy from hanging out with Joel, who had gotten him drunk. They chatted about her live acting, where she often relies on her cast for support. Gordon congratulated her on her BET Awards win. Leslie revealed that the show lasted not 60 minutes, but a marathon 3 hours and 30 minutes. She playfully invited Gordon to cook for her, mentioning her favorite pick-me-up dish, her aunt's spaghetti, though she wouldn't disclose the secret sauce recipe. Gordon Ramsay challenged Leslie Jones to a taste test. He asked her if she was ready for some competition, and tested her palate with a series of flavors. First up was white cheddar, which Leslie guessed as butter. The second flavor was squid, which she described as something gummy and immediately tried to spit out, saying he tricked her.
They're all flavored with different exciting flavors. Otherwise, what's in that one?
For the third flavor, durian fruit, she found it so unpleasant that she spat it out, comparing it to poop and wondering if it was related to Duran Duran.
Leslie! Leslie!
Oh, it does taste like
White
cheese!
cheddar!
The fourth flavor, lychee fruit, she identified as tasting like flowers, though she guessed it was leeches. Finally, she tasted grasshoppers, which she couldn't recognize as grits. Leslie exclaimed that it tasted like poop, pretended to vomit, and prayed aloud, dramatically reacting to the fact that she had just eaten grasshoppers.
Exciting.
It tastes like flowers!
As Gordon Ramsay prepared to taste the final dishes, he gathered the captains, Stan from Slaw and Order and Darcy from Food Bosses. The teams had served 46 and 44 dishes respectively. For Food Bosses, Darcy shared that their sear was great and the seasoning was spot on. She noted that the toughest part of the night was avoiding burns. Brian, she mentioned, was intensely focused, treating cooking like an art form. For Slaw and Order, Stan was praised for his plating, but advised that the steak needed a bit more sear and should rest longer. Gordon urged him to make this final push count and refine the details. Later, Gordon and his daughter, Matilda, Tilly, aimed to set a Guinness World Record for cracking eggs one-handed with a partner. They faced off against the McCurdy family, Ross and his daughter Mira. The goal was to crack 28 eggs in under 30 seconds, with no shells in the glass.
How many eggs have you cracked in the last 7 days?
Probably about like 500.
There could be only one winning pair.
Nice, buddy. You're doing great.
But the other team got 33. Yes, 33. So, who was it? Did the Ramsay score a world record?
Hands up.
In the thrilling showdown, Ross and Mira set the new record by cracking 33 eggs, beating Gordon's team who managed 29. The Ramsays took it gracefully, shook hands with the judge, acknowledging their achievement and celebrating their new world record. Back to the F-word competition. As the kitchen officially closed for the night, Gordon Ramsay commended both teams for their hard work. He took a moment to wish Stan, the captain of Slaw and Order, a happy birthday, presenting him with a pie to celebrate. The dedication of the daughters from both teams, who continued working despite burning themselves, impressed everyone. When the results were announced, it was revealed that one team had earned 34 out of 50 votes from diners, while the other had received 30. With that, the winner for the night's The F Word was declared.
Please, the result in.
The diners have decided.
Thank you very much.
So how did you like watching it? It's certainly different from Hell's Kitchen. Much less screaming matches, more of Ramsay in his mentorship role. Plus, we get to see him on his little side quests. But that isn't the only time Chef Ramsay came close to visiting the ER. Recounting an incident from his innumerable visits to outrageous restaurants, Chef Ramsay spoke about a chef who did this.
Served me food where the cat has literally pissed on it because I've never met or eaten a scallop so stinking in all my life.
Gosh, this is no joke. Any idea which restaurant Chef Ramsay is talking about? Do let me know, because that's just disgusting. However, in the same interview, Chef Ramsay mentioned the name of a restaurant, which further urged him to quit the show.
So from Bonapart to Ledec, the journey's been tempestuous.
Chef Ramsay was talking about the infamous episode when he visited a restaurant named Bonapart's in Silsden, England. So the place was a hot mess from the get-go. The owners, Sue Ray and Tim Gray, were struggling to bring in customers, and people refused to come even when they offered free meals. That's how bad things were. Chef Ramsay stepped in to work his magic like he would at any other restaurant. But boy, was he in for a ride. The service was a disaster, with tickets piling up on the fridge, and the food was just plain bad. I mean, Tim was a mess in the kitchen, throwing things together with no care in the world. And when the pigeon breast with mushroom ravioli finally came out, they were burnt to a crisp. Can you imagine waiting for more than 30 minutes for your starter, only to be served burnt ravioli? Gross. And it gets worse. Sue was too busy running the bar upstairs to even notice what was happening in the kitchen. The kitchen was a health hazard, with old lentils and furry potatoes in the fridge. And don't even get me started on the scallops. Tim cooked up a scallop dish for Chef Ramsay, but they were so rancid that even Ramsay threw up after tasting them.
I know what it means, I feel sick myself now.
I mean, that's just brutal. But the real kicker was when Chef Ramsay got food poisoning. The food was so bad that it made him sick. When he inspected the fridge, he found something that looked like sheep's turd. And I can't think of anything more disgusting.
Yeah, it looks like sheep's turd that's been infested with ants.
I kid you not, this episode was a train wreck. These two chefs almost killed Ramsay. Although he brought up this episode in the interview, this was not an isolated incident. The chef has had to eat food that was almost fatal so many times that this is what happened.
What? 11, 12 stomach ulcers.
There's no doubt that Chef Ramsay's work ethic and dedication is off the charts. But he didn't deserve to be put through such a nightmare for the sake of the show. Remember that one restaurant called Casa Roma in Los Angeles? The walk-in refrigerator was so vile and disgusting that Ramsay found it difficult to even stand near it.
Whoa, fucking hell.
And that's not all. If the kitchen was so bad, then imagine what the restroom would be like. Chef Ramsay braved himself to face the horrifying truth that lurked in the nastiest bathrooms we've ever seen on the show. And let me tell you, he doesn't bust out his trusty black light often, but when he does, you better believe things are about to get real ugly. So he flicked off the light, and oh boy, what he saw on those bathroom walls and ceiling was downright nasty. I'm talking bodily fluids just caked onto all the surfaces possible, and this is what it looked like.
Oh my good God.
Chef Ramsay was absolutely horrified, and I don't blame him. Talking about his day-to-day life, Chef Ramsay is actually not some kind of a fancy-pants snob. He actually likes cooking regular food at home because he doesn't want his kids growing up thinking they're better than anyone else because of their food preferences. And guess what? He's even into fast food. But despite all of his years in the culinary field, if you're a beginner chef, then Ramsay's your guy. He's super nice to people who are just starting out as long as they're motivated and dedicated. Remember Scooter from the Cambridge Hotel? But if you're some kind of poser claiming to be a chef when you clearly don't have the skills, now that's something that gets under Chef Ramsay's skin. But hey, speaking of putting his health on the line, even shows like Hell's Kitchen, where seasoned chefs battle it out with each other for that top position, have left Chef Ramsay in a delicate condition. Like, remember this time when Matt walked up with his awful signature dish? Just like that moment when a contestant's signature dish went awry and left Ramsay reeling from the unexpected flavors. We're talking about Matt Siegel, by the way. So, let me break down what went down. Matt was the 6th contestant in line. all set to dazzle Ramsay with his culinary creation. But here's where things took an unexpected turn. Matt presented his exotic tartare dish, a mix of raw venison, diver scallops, caviar, and even grated white chocolate. You'd think this unique combination would earn some major points, right? Well, not exactly. Just take a look at Ramsay's reaction here. You might want to see it for yourself.
Oh, stop. Let me just get this right again. Either that or I'm just about to be punked.
Yep, Ramsay actually asked if this was some kind of joke. That's how shocked he was by what he tasted. As Ramsay's disbelief escalated, he even threw a wild question at Matt.
Do you smoke?
Cigarettes?
No.
Wow, that's just how puzzled he was by the dish. And honestly, can you really blame him for that reaction? Anyway, even though the presentation was nothing short of horrifying, Ramsay decided to brave it out and take a bite. But wow, was that a mistake? Within mere seconds, Ramsay was gagging and spitting it out. Honestly, I can't even bear to watch this moment. Poor Ramsay, right? He was so furious that he went on to say it was even worse than he initially thought.
That must be one of the worst combinations I've ever tasted in 21 years of cooking.
But here's the real twist. Despite Ramsay's brutal assessment, Matt seemed genuinely confused about what exactly Ramsay didn't like about his dish.
I really don't understand what Chef Ramsay didn't like about the dish. I'm a little boggled on that.
Seriously, man, did you even bother tasting your dish before putting it in front of a Michelin-starred chef? If not, well, you really should have. And if you did, then how in the world did you think it was good enough to bring to Hell's Kitchen? Talk about being way too confident in a dish that was a total disaster. It's safe to say that this signature dish challenge didn't earn Matt the applause he was aiming for, but it sure left everyone, especially Ramsay, cringing in disbelief. So Matt's journey on the show came to an end in episode 10, and it's no surprise why. To be honest, he just wasn't bringing his A game, his services were consistently subpar, and his attitude was pretty terrible too. I mean, who wants to work with someone who's got a bad vibe going on? Anyway, after getting the boot from Hell's Kitchen, Matt bounced back and landed a sweet gig as the executive chef at Pizzicato in New Jersey. And get this, he's also super passionate about sharing his culinary skills with others. So he regularly does cooking demos at local cookery events. It's great to see him making the most of his talents and connecting with foodies in his community. Anyway, what can I say? But good for him, right? But speaking of Matt and his poor cooking skills, here comes another contestant whose food was rejected the moment it hit Chef Ramsay's palate. Chrissa Schmerler was the 6th contestant from the red team, stepping up to face Ramsay's judgment in a culinary showdown against Michael. But the moment Ramsay caught sight of her dish, his reaction was priceless.
What in the fuck is that?
So, what exactly did she come up with? Well, take a look at this.
I was in the cookie aisle. I was trying to get ideas, and I have ginger cookies.
Ramsay, in his classic sarcastic style, joked that at least she didn't find her inspiration in the pet food aisle. A small relief, maybe, but not much of a compliment. However, when Ramsay finally took a bite, his reaction was far from what Chrissa had hoped for.
Oh my god, really? Oh.
I mean, that is hideous.
Sorry.
To be honest, no one in the audience was surprised because the dish already sounded pretty questionable, and Ramsay spitting out the food just confirmed everyone's worst fears. Chrissa, who wasn't used to seeing her cooking met with such disdain, managed to score only 1 point for her effort. A moment that must have left her feeling a mix of embarrassment and disappointment. As the challenge continued, the red team's luck didn't improve much. Despite all their efforts, they came up short, losing the challenge by a narrow margin of 28 to 31. And what was their punishment, you ask? Well, here it is.
Stuffing and licking all night long.
They were handed a task that had nothing to do with cooking, but was still no walk in the park. The team was tasked with resetting the dining room for the upcoming opening night, and as a quirky twist, they even had to seal confirmation letters in envelopes as part of their penance. Chris's experience serves as a reminder that even the most creative culinary inspirations can lead to unexpected and sometimes disastrous results. A valuable lesson in the high-stakes world of Hell's Kitchen. Fast forward to the present, and Chrissa is living her culinary dream. She's the proud owner of her very own food truck, aptly named The Big Cheese, and boy does it live up to its name. Chrissa's menu is a love letter to comfort food, with mouth-watering specialties like handmade stuffed egg rolls, gigantic stuffed cheeseburgers that'll make your jaw drop, and of course, her legendary grilled cheeses that have earned her a loyal following. It's clear that Chrissa's passion for food is still going strong, and she's now sharing that passion with her community through her fantastic food truck. If you ever find yourself in the area, do yourself a favor and track down The Big Cheese. Your taste buds will thank you. Now, did those stories about Ramsay's dangerous adventures with food fascinate you? And would you like to see more of his other shows? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on the post notifications. And if you want to watch another mind-bending video, then make sure to check out this next post right here. It's even crazier.